Have you ever felt completely depleted after spending time with someone, even if you can't quite put your finger on why? It's a common experience, and if you've landed on this video, chances are you're seeking answers to those lingering feelings of exhaustion. We're not just going to talk about surface-level interactions. We're diving deep into the subtle, often unseen ways certain individuals can unconsciously siphon off your vital energy. This isn't about blaming anyone, but empowering you to recognize these dynamics and protect your inner well-being. If you're ready to reclaim your mental and emotional peace, you've come to the right place. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on more insights like these. Sign 1. The chronic complainer who refuses solutions. We all have bad days, and a good friend or family member will lend an ear when you need to vent. But then there's the chronic complainer. This isn't just someone having a rough patch. It's a consistent pattern where every conversation eventually steers towards their woes, problems, and grievances. What makes this particularly draining isn't just the negativity itself, but the underlying dynamic. They present problems not to find solutions, but to gain sympathy or attention. If you offer advice, they'll immediately counter with why it won't work, why it's too hard, or why someone else is to blame. I just can't get ahead, they'll lament, and when you suggest practical steps, they'll sigh, oh, it's never that simple for me. From a psychological perspective, this can be a form of learned helplessness or a way to avoid taking responsibility. By constantly focusing on the problem and rejecting solutions, they maintain a narrative of victimhood. For you, the listener, it's like being trapped in a loop. You invest emotional energy trying to help, offering empathy and practical suggestions, only to have them all shot down. The Stoics would remind us that we have control over our own reactions and perceptions. While we can offer compassion, we cannot make someone change their mindset or accept help. Seneca, a prominent Stoic philosopher, often spoke about the importance of choosing our company wisely. If you find yourself consistently drained by someone who only presents problems and never seeks resolution, you're not helping them by continuously engaging in that cycle. You're simply participating in their chosen drama. Recognize that your energy is a finite resource. You can offer support, but you don't have to be their sole emotional sponge. Setting boundaries here isn't selfish. It's a necessary act of self-preservation. You can't fill a cup that has a hole in it, and you certainly can't fill someone else's if yours is constantly being emptied. Sign 2. The constant needer of validation. This individual seems charming at first, perhaps even a bit self-deprecating. They might ask for your opinion frequently, seem eager for your approval, and generally make you feel valued because your input seems so important to them. However, as time goes on, you start to notice a pattern. Their self-esteem seems entirely dependent on external affirmation, and your affirmation in particular. They might constantly fish for compliments. Do I look okay in this? Be honest. Seek reassurance about their decisions. Are you sure this was the right choice? Or even subtly put themselves down to invite praise. I'm so terrible at this, aren't I? Psychologically, this behavior often stems from deep-seated insecurities, a fragile sense of self-worth, or even a narcissistic trait where they use others as a mirror to feel good about themselves. For you, this translates into a constant, unspoken pressure to be their emotional cheerleader. Every interaction becomes an opportunity for them to seek validation, and if you don't provide it in the exact way they expect, they might become sullen, withdrawn, or even passive-aggressive. This can lead to you walking on eggshells, constantly trying to say the right thing to boost their ego, which is incredibly taxing. From a Stoic perspective, true self-worth comes from within, from our virtues, character, and rational judgments, not from the opinions of others. Epictetus, another influential Stoic, emphasized that we should be concerned only with what is within our control, our thoughts, actions, and reactions, and not external things like other people's opinions or validation. When you repeatedly offer validation to someone who constantly seeks it externally, you are, in a way, enabling their dependence. You're giving away a piece of your inner peace by becoming responsible for their emotional state. It's like trying to fill a bottomless pit. Instead of perpetually affirming them, a more Stoic approach might involve gently encouraging them to find their own inner strength or to reflect on their own actions. You can be supportive, but you don't have to be their sole source of self-esteem. Recognize that their need for validation is their internal struggle, not yours to fix. Protecting your energy means understanding that your emotional labor is not endlessly available for someone else's perpetual need for external approval. Sign 3. The drama creator/gossip monger. You know these people. Conversations with them often revolve around who's doing what, who's in trouble, or who said what about whom. They thrive on intrigue, conflict, and the misfortunes of others. They might bring you sensational stories about mutual acquaintances, exaggerate events for dramatic effect, or even try to draw you into their own personal conflicts. You won't believe what Sarah did, or can you believe what Mark said about John? It's just terrible. Psychologically, engaging in gossip and creating drama can be a way for some individuals to feel important, gain social currency, or distract from their own insecurities or problems. It can also be a way to bond with others through shared negativity, creating an us against them mentality. For you, the listener, even if you try to stay neutral, simply being present during these conversations can be incredibly draining. You absorb the negativity, the judgment, and the anxieties associated with conflict. Even if it's not directly about you, your mind becomes cluttered with other people's issues, leaving less room for your own thoughts and peace. The Stoics were acutely aware of the power of our thoughts and the company we keep. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, constantly reminded himself to focus on what is good and beneficial and to avoid engaging in unnecessary speculation or judgment about others. Engaging in gossip or drama, even passively, is an agreement to participate in a negative cycle that is entirely outside your control and does not align with virtue. It contaminates your mind and shifts your focus from your own path to the chaotic external world. To protect your energy, you must learn to detach from these narratives. When someone starts to veer into gossip or drama, you can gently steer the conversation to a different topic, express disinterest, or even excuse yourself. You are not obligated to listen to or participate in conversations that do not serve your well-being. By refusing to engage, you create a boundary that protects your mental space, allowing you to focus on what truly matters, cultivating your own inner peace and living virtuously. Your energy is too precious to be spent on idle talk and other people's manufactured conflicts. Sign 4. The victim mentality. This isn't just about having a bad day or struggling through a difficult period. It's a pervasive mindset where the individual consistently sees themselves as a victim of circumstances, fate, or other people. Nothing is ever their fault. Their problems are always caused by external factors. My boss hates me. The world is against me. I just have bad luck. They might recount stories of misfortune, always positioning themselves as the innocent party, even when their own choices or lack of action clearly played a role. From a psychological standpoint, the victim mentality can be a coping mechanism to avoid personal responsibility, self-blame, or the discomfort of confronting one's own shortcomings. It can also stem from a need for sympathy and attention. For you, this can be profoundly draining because you're constantly confronted with a narrative of helplessness. You might try to offer solutions, point out opportunities, or suggest ways they could take control, but it's often met with resistance or a reiteration of how impossible their situation is. Your attempts to empower them feel futile, like trying to push a rope. You invest emotional energy into seeing them succeed, only to have it bounce back against a wall of self-pity. Stoicism places immense emphasis on personal responsibility and distinguishing between what is within our control and what is not. Epictetus famously taught that we are disturbed not by things themselves, but by our opinions about things. A person with a victim mentality fails to grasp this fundamental Stoic principle. They attribute their distress to external events rather than their interpretation and reaction to those events. As an energy protector, you must recognize that you cannot save someone who is unwilling to take agency over their own life. While empathy is important, enabling a victim mentality by endlessly commiserating without encouraging agency only perpetuates the cycle. You are not responsible for solving their problems, especially when they refuse to acknowledge their role in them. Setting boundaries means understanding that while you can offer a listening ear, you cannot carry the burden of their perpetual victimhood. Your energy is better spent on those who are willing to engage with challenges constructively and take responsibility for their path, allowing you to maintain your own inner strength and peace. Sign 5. The one-upmanship expert. Have you ever shared a success or a positive experience only for the conversation to immediately turn into a story about how this other person did something bigger, better, or more impressive? That's the one-upmanship expert. You mention a great vacation you took, and they'll quickly interject with details about their even more exotic trip. You share a small achievement at work, and they'll interrupt with a tale of their recent monumental professional triumph. It's not malicious in a direct sense, but it subtly undermines your feelings of accomplishment and joy. Psychologically, this behavior often stems from a deep-seated insecurity or a competitive drive. They might feel the need to constantly prove their worth or superior status, perhaps believing that someone else's success diminishes their own. They're not truly celebrating with you. They're using your moment as a springboard to showcase themselves. For you, this is draining because it transforms what should be a shared positive experience into an ego battle you never intended to join. You leave the conversation feeling deflated, as if your achievements or positive experiences weren't good enough or weren't even truly acknowledged. It subtly chips away at your sense of self-worth and the joy of sharing. From a Stoic perspective, true contentment comes from within and is not dependent on external comparisons or achievements. Marcus Aurelius frequently wrote about focusing on our own virtue and not being swayed by the opinions or perceived successes of others. He understood that our worth is intrinsic, not comparative. When someone engages in one-upmanship, they are operating from a place of external validation and competition. Your role is not to engage in this futile race. You don't need to justify your successes or compete for attention. Recognizing this behavior allows you to protect your energy by not investing in their competitive narrative. You can choose to listen politely without internalizing their need to constantly impress, or gently steer the conversation back to your original point if you feel inclined. Ultimately, you choose to celebrate your own victories regardless of how others respond. Your peace isn't contingent on their approval or their ability to acknowledge your wins. By remaining internally focused and unbothered by their need for external validation, you preserve your energy and the authentic joy of your own experiences. Sign 6. The boundary violator. This type of individual consistently oversteps your personal boundaries, often in subtle ways that are hard to articulate, but leave you feeling uncomfortable and invaded. This could manifest as showing up unannounced despite previous discussions about needing space, constantly calling or texting you for non-emergencies, even when you've expressed a need for quiet time, asking overly personal questions, or borrowing things without asking and not returning them promptly. They might also pressure you into commitments you're not comfortable with, or disregard your no as merely an invitation to persuade you further. Psychologically, boundary violations can stem from a lack of empathy, a sense of entitlement, or simply an underdeveloped understanding of social cues in personal space. They might genuinely believe they're being friendly or helpful, or they might be testing your limits to see how much they can get away with. For you, the recipient, this is incredibly draining because it creates a constant state of low-level anxiety and vigilance. You always feel like you have to be on guard, anticipating the next boundary infringement. You might spend mental energy strategizing how to avoid them or how to politely say no without causing offense, which is exhausting. Your sense of autonomy and personal control is eroded, leaving you feeling intruded upon and disrespected. The Stoics emphasize living in accordance with nature, which includes respecting one's own rational judgment and not allowing others to disturb your inner peace. Seneca spoke about the importance of protecting one's time and inner life, not letting others steal it through their demands. Establishing clear boundaries is a profoundly Stoic act. It's about asserting what is within your control, your personal space, your time, and your emotional well-being, and not allowing external pressures to dictate them. When someone violates a boundary, it's not an attack on them to reestablish it. It's an act of self-care. This might involve direct communication, such as, "I can't talk right now, I'll call you back later," or "I need some quiet time this weekend, so I won't be available." It requires courage and consistency. While it might feel uncomfortable initially, upholding your boundaries is essential for protecting your energy. You teach people how to treat you. By clearly defining what you will and won't accept, You reclaim your personal power and safeguard your most valuable resource, your inner tranquility. Sign 7. The emotional blackmailer / guilt tripper. This is an individual who uses subtle or not so subtle emotional manipulation to get what they want or to make you feel responsible for their feelings. They might say things like, "If you really cared about me, you would," or "I guess I'll just be alone then," or even threaten to withdraw affection or create a scene if you don't comply with their wishes. They often play on your sense of obligation, loyalty, or kindness, making you feel guilty for asserting your needs or declining their requests. Their sadness, anger, or disappointment becomes your burden. Psychologically, emotional blackmail is a powerful manipulative tactic. It preys on your empathy and fear of causing distress or being seen as bad. The blackmailer often has a fragile ego or a deep-seated need for control, and they've learned that making others feel guilty is an effective way to get their needs met without direct, healthy communication. For you, this is incredibly draining. Every interaction becomes a minefield where you constantly anticipate how your actions will be perceived and whether they will trigger a guilt trip. You might find yourself agreeing to things you don't want to do, sacrificing your own needs, or feeling a persistent knot of anxiety because you're constantly trying to manage their emotions. Your authenticity is compromised as you try to navigate their emotional demands. From a Stoic perspective, true virtue and right action are based on reason and our own judgment, not on being coerced by external emotional pressures. Epictetus taught that our internal peace should not be disturbed by external events or the opinions, feelings of others. To allow someone to emotionally blackmail you is to surrender your inner citadel, your control over your own values and actions, to their manipulation. Your response to their emotional state is within your control, but their emotional state itself is not. Recognizing emotional blackmail for what it is allows you to disengage from its power. You can acknowledge their feelings. "I understand you're disappointed," without taking responsibility for them or changing your boundaries. "But I won't be able to do X." This isn't about being cold, it's about being firm in your rational principles. You have a right to your own needs and decisions without being subjected to emotional manipulation. Protecting your energy from guilt trippers means understanding that their emotional reactions are ultimately their own to manage, and your peace is not a bargaining chip for their desires. Sign 8. The negative mirror. This person has a unique ability to reflect your own insecurities or negative traits back at you, often unintentionally, or to constantly point out perceived flaws. They might subtly criticize your choices, question your motives, or make comments that highlight aspects of yourself you're already self-conscious about. It's not necessarily overt bullying, but more like a consistent, low-level drip of critical feedback or undermining remarks. "Are you sure you want to wear that?" Or, "That was a brave choice given how X usually turns out for you." They might even frame it as just being honest or trying to help. Psychologically, this behavior can stem from their own insecurities, a need to feel superior, or even a passive-aggressive way to exert control. They might project their own self-doubt onto you, or simply lack the self-awareness to understand the impact of their words. For you, the recipient, this is deeply draining because it taps directly into your self-doubt. You leave interactions with them feeling diminished, questioning your own judgment, or replaying their critical comments in your head. It erodes your confidence and makes you second-guess yourself, leading to increased anxiety and a constant internal battle to maintain your self-esteem. The Stoics emphasize the importance of self-knowledge and focusing on improving our own character rather than being swayed by external opinions or criticisms, especially those that are unfounded or unhelpful. Marcus Aurelius advised us to assess criticism rationally. If it's true and beneficial, learn from it. If not, dismiss it. A negative mirror forces you into a constant state of self-defense or self-analysis that is rarely productive. Protecting your energy means recognizing that this person's comments are often a reflection of their inner world, not an accurate assessment of yours. You do not have to internalize their criticisms or let them define your self-worth. You have control over how you interpret and react to their words. By consciously choosing to filter out unhelpful or undermining comments, you deny them the power to drain your energy. Focus instead on your own virtuous actions and rational judgments. You are the ultimate judge of your own character and worth. By strengthening your inner resolve and refusing to let external negativity permeate your self-perception, you maintain your peace and prevent this subtle form of energy depletion.